I create like a child and then I try to refine like a scientist. And that means being with your feelings, the good feelings, being with the difficult feelings, and really getting a sense of those moments and trying to live an honest life and taking in the experiences from it and really just being self-aware in that regard, which can sometimes be a painful process. But then when it comes to the expression, yeah, it's real. And for that, I'm grateful.
Hello and welcome to the Flying Universe podcast. With me today, I got the magician Facesoul. So good to have you here, Facesoul.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I want to go straight into it and just talk about how when I hear your music, I always
Mhm.
feel that it's not just music. It's a story.
Mm,
And the story comes through with full of emotion and full of character. And one of the
mm.
things that I realized was, did you start out like that?
Yes. Funnily enough, I did. I always had a lot of feelings, some I struggled to process out loud, or process with other people, underneath the surface. And I think first and foremost, creating art was a medicine for me. And it was a way to release and to express and to beautify these complex feelings that were inside of me. Sometimes through the form of a story, but most of the time through just pouring what was coming out of me into a container and then working with that as a material.
And when you speak about like the container, did you know that you were going to be on stage? Did you let it loose like right from the beginning, or were you kind of like writing your process in the background?
Ah, I was always a very loud young boy, to say the least. A little wild and a little bit unruly. So I used to beatbox a lot. I used to express a lot. So there was a part of me that really had an attraction to the limelight, if that makes any sense, to being on stage, to performing arts and
Mm,
to express. So when it came to like actually me starting to write my own music and sharing it, I was in a period of my time where I was heavily involved in faith. And we say in Islamic traditions, in a'mal binniyat, your actions come by your intentions. And at that point in my life, when I actually first went onto stages and spaces, that was always it. Like, if you're going to take this space, make sure you're really saying something meaningful. So
mm.
from the get-go, it was like all or nothing. Express as much as I can or stay silent, you know?
I love that. Yeah, and I feel like you're one of the really rare people who, when you're on stage, you're the same on stage as if you're off stage, and there is no difference between Face Soul being the performer and Face Soul not singing. And I really appreciate
Alhamdulillah.
that so much. And did you find that in your music, that's how it just naturally came to be?
Yeah, because I always, I, I think the more I did it, I realized that the music was a vehicle for me to express who I am, if that makes any sense. It wasn't a different character that I would take on. It was a means for me to really express the everything on the inside and the joy of me. So obviously, when then I get off stage, it's still the same expression. It's not like a
Mm,
change in character, and for that, I'm really appreciative.
it's amazing. I love that. And I mean, just what does your family say? How do your like world when you started, like what were the people around you? How did they view you from, let's say, like you said, unruly kid beatboxing to where you are
Eh,
now?
it's so weird. I guess they really value and respect it first and foremost because they're like, yo, it works. This guy has a job doing the crazy stuff he was doing as a kid. He actually has a job. Like, he can support himself and his family by going, you know,
Mm.
they find it a very a beautiful, beautiful thing due to the fact that they saw its progression. Just me not being able to be quiet, to me starting to make these sounds, to the world beginning to respond to it. So yeah, I think yeah, they've always shown me nothing but love and appreciation with it, I think. And they don't tease me anymore. For that, I'm grateful.
Well, when did the teasing stop, you think?
Do you know what it is? Everyone laughs at you until it starts to work, you know? And I think
Mm.
once the world started responding to it, I remember for my mother, for example, it was her being in a mosque and there were these sisters in the sister section of the mosque playing one of my pieces and talking about this brother. And she's like,
Wow.
oh, she's like, right, that's my son. Okay, okay. Yeah, that's a fun memory I have.
Love that. Where how much of you would say your family upbringing comes into your songs?
Hmm. I would say not so much, you know, because I feel as though it was escapism for me, creation, you know.
Mm.
It was, I'm a middle child in my family, so
Ah, same
I
here.
think, yeah. So like as
I
a
know
middle
I
child,
know
it's
what you
like,
went through.
you know, thank you, bro. That's why it was like my happy place, and maybe to some degree, that's why being an artist or a performer in a sense had so much joy for me because it was a way that I could I could feel seen. So yeah, it was the place where my imagination came through, my creativity, the things that weren't like my daily life of going to school or like my relationship with my siblings. It was that thing that was for me. And if you go in there, you've got a whole world of imagination. So I think that's where it really stemmed from, less so my family dynamic. But I do think they were the cause of it to a degree.
I totally hear you. I totally hear you. It's a thing with middle children. I think it's just we strive to be
Mm.
seen, you know, and then when we finally get the recognition by the outside world, we go back to the family and we're like, hey, look at me, look. This is now. Can you see me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Middle children are the gifted and talented.
When did you feel like or start to see like, oh, hey, this is gonna work. This is working now. This is going somewhere from, I what you were doing before. Let's say, like, when did you just see that point in time where you're like, oh, something's cracking open. I got a chance.
Oh wow. Do you know what it is? I feel as though I've had different echoes of that moment throughout my life as I've broken through from one place into another space, into another space, for example. Like I can fondly remember the first time I was ever paid to sing. I was 17 years old, and I still remember fondly, excuse me, the gentleman's name, the brother's name is Nabil Abdul Rashid. And as he gave me the £60, he goes, I just want you to know, brother, that this isn't your worth. You're worth so much more than what I'm giving to you right now.
Mm,
But this is all that we have at the moment. Thank you so much. And I remember it's in my hand and I'm like, whoa, this is the thing. And and then that grew to me doing more performances, more spaces, and then having an income. I'm like, this is crazy. And then I would stop. And then I would grow in a different way in life and my art would take another form, which the current echo of I'm in now for about 5 years as an artist called Facesoul. Dude, I was just doing loop stations for myself at this point. It wasn't even for I'd
mm,
seen as a job anymore. I'd given up that concept. And I was working in schools with young people. And I remember I still had the sadness and these complex emotions. I would do these loop stations and then I shared it with somebody and they said, the internet, and it really grew. And it was super weird. Like these are little sounds I made in my room, and then I had an opportunity to share it somewhere in the world with a beautiful platform called the Colors Team, and apparently I became an established artist. I was like, whoa! When you sometimes see what people's experience of your expression, I'm like,
mm,
hey, whoa, okay, this is crazy. This is the
mm,
thing, if that makes sense. And I doubled down on on that love and that direction, and it's kept me moving and grooving till this day.
Wow. And when you started, like, let's say, going in your own established artistic viral sounds, did you straight
Mhm.
from the beginning put your voice of expression, your voice of, how did you say, processing in it?
Yeah, it's because I couldn't do anything else. Like I have pianos, I have guitars, I have, dude, I've got even like I've got a flute, but like I'm not the best at the practical format of music. I never had any training as a child. I was never encouraged, but I had this voice, and I could think of a sound, and I could do a sound, and it would just happen, and
Mm.
I could beatbox, and so it was really natural for me eventually to to just use a loop station. And I remember, I think it was Alan Watts who said, if you do something that you love enough, you develop proficiency. And then once you develop a degree of proficiency, and people eventually want to exchange from that place, and that was all it was. I doubled down on what I could do and the way I could express. And once I realized it was a special sound, because I can't sing R&B, I couldn't sing soul, I couldn't sing
Mm.
folk music, I just had my own way of taking in those inspirations, if that makes any sense. And it ended up being original, quote unquote, you know? So alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful I can walk this path.
Yeah, I mean, you're super original. You're so you feel so original that you just make up the lyrics before you go on stage, you know, and you get the whole crowd going with you at the same time, and
Mhm.
that's where I feel your one of your magic powers comes out through, and it's just like you just make that happen. And where do you ever write? Do you write your songs down, or do you kind of record it and you're like, oh, this is good, I'll continue with this?
Yeah. So the philosophy I have is I think James Blake said something similar to this in an interview about there's no such thing as an original thought, or if you look like you're an original artist, it means you're very good at hiding your influences. But he said that there's one example where he thinks it can be different, and that's when you're truly engrossed in the thing that you're doing, and then it's like you're becoming a channel for something. And that's the approach I take to making the art. I always start with the feeling, and I just want, it's like clay. I really want to extract what's going on inside of me. So I just open a microphone and just sing, or I'll create a tempo, and then I'll put a tone on it, and then I'll create a set of harmonies. And then that brings me to say something. I don't think about what I'm saying in the moment. I'm just allowing like my mind to piece together the expression. And then afterwards I have a listen again, and I'm like, this could go in this direction. Whoa, this is what I meant. Wow, this is the feeling. And then I'd work like a potter on a clay wheel to just really shape it into
Mm.
something, and then give it to people. Yeah. So I would say I create like a child, and then I try to refine like a scientist. Yeah, a bit of both.
Let's see. And with how much of that is effortless and how much of that is actual like work for you?
If I'm being really honest, the creative process is my relief, if that makes sense. It's the part that makes it easy is having and living a life worth creating from, if that makes sense. And that means
Mm.
being with your feelings, the good feelings, being with the difficult feelings, and really getting a sense of those moments, and trying to live an honest life, and taking in the experiences from it, and really just being self-aware in that regard, which can sometimes be a painful process. But then when it comes to the expression, yeah, it's real. And for that, I'm grateful.
Do you feel like when you come to perform or when you're recording that you're always in touch with that emotion of what you're sharing?
Yes, to a degree, yeah. There's something that happens, and my guitarist I work with, Michael Sebastian, we have this saying. We're both very intuitive, like, and it's not even a like, not even a saying, a knowing, where we're in the set, and where there's the artist and there's the audience. There's all these groups of people just watching you. You don't know them, they don't know you, and we're making sounds with these instruments. And then something happens, Sometimes it's straight away, sometimes it's halfway in the set, sometimes, but there's a moment that happens where it's like, and it's just energy, where it's us and them and we're together. And then
Mm,
at that moment, I feel like I can fly. It's the most amazing thing. I can really hold those energies, hold those emotions, and it pours into the audience, and the audience's attention comes back in again, and we have this sort of experience. It's one of the greatest highs of my life. It's something special, and I think performing is where we get to sense that the most. And you can also enter that when being in your creative process as well. I think they call
mm.
it a flow state.
Where is the point in time where have you seen yourself to be on a stage or with a group of people where you're like, this is the point of pure magic, and you felt
Allah, man.
completely surrounded in, like, you're like, this is the best time I've ever had. I know I'm throwing a very cliche question, but like,
Yeah.
where does that point come in for you in your past
Can I be
experience?
honest? Yeah. If I be honest for you and with you, wallahi, there's a saying that lives in me. It's whether it's 10 or 10,000. Like there's that commitment to being in that space when sharing that moment. And I think it happens in every set I do, you know. There gets to unless it's a bad, you always get those like you always get maybe out of 100 performances, you've got that 15 to 20 where you're like, ah, that was hard. I felt like I was pulling a stone. But even within that, it's just there. It's just
Mm,
there when you're doing what you love and the mind gets lost because you're in the thing now. You're just in it. And then it's like, bro, it's like being in a hot bubble bath. You're like, ah, once you're in, you're in. You're like, hey, we got there. At first, you might dip your toe in the performance. The audience might not feel warmed up yet. The music might be too heavy. And then it just hits. But I think to your point, I have been in beautiful places in the world where I have had moments where it's like we look up and we're in front of thousands of people. We look up, we're in Indonesia. We look up, we're in Ibiza on the ocean. We look up, we're in like, subhanAllah, so many different spaces, so many different venues, so many different moments. And it's quite miraculous, honestly, because it comes from imagination. You know what I mean? I still
mm,
am the 14-year-old boy beatboxing. My job, I don't have a real day job. I just make sounds, and these sounds have transported me to these spaces, and it is a
mm,
miracle. And when you look up and you take that in, all the little details are worth it. It's like you can go back to the drawing board again, but you reach the peak in that moment, and alhamdulillah, satisfaction.
mm. I'm hearing you share that it's always a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the happiest. The happiest I am in my life is in that moment, definitely. And that's what I try and share with people. And I think people can get a sense of that because they're all smiling together, you know?
Mm. But how often are you like, where do you feel that your message started to like spread? The like, where do you find the energy of your music has in the beginnings that has like really gone through, and you're like, oh, this is like how people are receiving me.
Um, find it interesting that I'm in these spaces of modern day spiritual inquiry and people with a degree of emotional empathy outside of like the general standard of ways of being. People that have multi layers to themselves. Example A, like a lot of people have told me they've listened to the music in meditative spaces in they'd be like, hey dude, I was just in a yoga class and I heard you. Or I was in a medicine journey and your music was being played. I was in a
Mm,
ecstatic dance. And I'm like, I find it really interesting because I'd I've grown through many spaces in my life, from urban background, really deep in the Muslim world, and to a degree in the conscious spaces, but not necessarily a performer, just a participant in inquiry, in learning and connection. And now it's like this music reaches a group of people who are looking for a balanced way to live in their lives when things are difficult.
Mm.
And I find that really interesting because it's almost it's not religious, it's almost secular, but it's still seeking spirit. And I find that to be really, really fascinating, that there's something people are all connected to. And yeah, I find it shocking that my music is also in that conversation for them.
You find your music is like mostly highlighted there, or do you feel like your music's just everywhere?
It's what I look to. I think it's highlighted in those spaces, like because a lot of the festivals I go to, and I seem to be sharing with, is quite often in these conscious spaces these days, which I find to be really interesting. But simultaneously, like I was at a shoot the other day for a conversation, and it was a completely different environment, completely different urban environment. And I'm just plodding along, and these people even listen to my music. They're like, "Oh, I love your music. When I'm going out in the morning, it just calms my heart." And it's like, "Oh, okay, this is in many different spaces as well." And I find it just blows my mind because I made this stuff in my room. Yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird.
And so, did you? I mean, now that you're, I know you're showing up more to these kind of, I don't know how you say, conscious spiritual festivals in a way where you're
Mm,
sharing your music and you're sharing spaces with other performers and people. Is
mhm.
it, you would say, is it a space that you are very comfortable with? Is it something like that you would see that that's where your music is going to end up, or did you imagine that you're going to be in the underground, London clubs or something?
Yeah, it's so weird. I would say, do you know what it is? Like I said, uh, in Islamic traditions, they say the best of mankind are those who benefit mankind. So anything I want to do, I want to try and apply benefit. And a lot of these conscious spaces, I'm so grateful to be part of them because it allows me to still transmit my message. And it's not just entertainment for me, music. There's a emotion, there's a process in it. So I'm grateful to be in those spaces. And if somebody, and it has happened before, people sample the music and it's in an urban club environment, at least the message is nice. Imagine just being in a difficult
Mm,
space on the dance floor and you do hear something that's good, something that uplifts your heart.
mm.
I try and be a candle wherever, even in the darkness, you know? Not saying that clubs are dark, but they can be sometimes. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Where is your spiritual core? Where does that where does that exist in terms of in this world full of, how we grew up with family and we kind of have very similar probably family backgrounds into
Mm,
our religion and, our kind of,
hmm.
let's say, way of upbringing. And
Hmm.
it's sometimes we find, at least for myself, I find in many years past where my spiritual religious center moved through so many cycles in different many ways.
Hmm.
And and where do you find that that has come for you with your music?
So interesting. Number one, I primarily see myself as a Muslim. Alhamdulillah, that's a deep spiritual core. Over the years, in my studies, I decolonized what that means for myself, if that makes sense.
Mm,
I went on my own journey of not just accepting the religion as it was fed to me, but having critical thinking, seeking knowledge, understanding institutions and history around religious systems, and then really trying to find what the core truth is for me. And it took me on a wild journey, a wild journey. Um, but now I really think my spiritual core is in understanding that this experience that I have is a gift given to me before I was even aware. Before I was conscious awareness, there's been so much that has occurred before me and will occur after me that's creating the experience I have right now as
mm,
Faisal, who at this age in my life on this planet, to be able to breathe, there's so much constituting like my fingernails, they're growing, like I don't even choose when I blink, it happens. I'm not even conscious of my heartbeat fully, but it's still pumping on my behalf. And it's become a more grounded state of appreciation and recognition of that experience that I'm having, knowing that I will never fully understand where it ends until I'm there. So in the meantime, I keep my heart open, make sure I'm kinder to others, make sure I'm appreciative of the forces I can't see, and I'm just patient with the emotions and the stories that they give. And I think that's the best I can do to maneuver in this time where uh, truth is truth is obscured and falsehood is shared everywhere, so it's really hard to get a full sense of everything except for the things you have awareness of. So yeah, I keep my heart and my mind open, but rooted and appreciative of this miraculous thing called life. Alhamdulillah. And just in praise.
Mm.
Sorry if it seems like a roundabout expression of it, but
Mm.
sometimes it's
Mm.
it's it's really it is a non-binary thing for me. So it's hard to you got to kind of be poetic to express it because it's not really a tangible thing, if that makes sense.
No,
Faith
it's
and
not.
belief
Yeah.
and ideation.
Yeah, definitely. And the world is, we're conditioned to always attach the spiritual theme to a specific identity, right? And to how you
Mm,
said decolonize. That's a very interesting word. I'd never heard that expressed in such a way, but I totally
mm.
understand exactly what you mean
Yeah,
with that,
yeah.
and I've traveled quite a lot and met many different people in so many different places
Mm,
about so many different beliefs. And when you get exposed to all of that, yeah, you don't just question, but you seek, you go deeper into, okay,
mm,
what does it actually
mm-hmm,
mean, right? What does it actually mean for me? And
mm-hmm,
that I could totally relate to what you were sharing right now. And yeah, you
mm-hmm.
got to be like a ninja with your words, right? You got to make sure it doesn't like
Yeah,
slap somewhere or stick somewhere where it was not supposed to stick, and you're like, no, that's not what I meant. No, you misunderstood
yeah.
me. And so you gotta keep
Yeah,
it like floating, right? You gotta keep it like moving through
yeah.
the cosmos, or else someone will be like, oh, now I have a face soul religion, and you're like, shit, that's not what I meant. you know
Hey, yeah. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I make it a personal rule, man. I make it a genuinely like the older I've gotten. I used to be quite evangelical as a young man. This is the truth, and you must share it always. And nowadays, I'm like, when it comes to belief, I understand now. It's so personal that it's internal. Therefore, you can't debate, you can't
Yeah,
it's not a realm of championing anything because it's only how the mechanism of belief works in you that needs to matter and how it works for that person. Does it work in the way that they're being kind and they're being good? Khalas, you, I do
that's
me.
so true.
Let's just live, you know?
That's so true. Um, and from your background, from your religious background, has anyone ever come to you from family or extended family, or within that culture, and be like, oh, the music is haram, like forbidden, it's a sin?
Ah man, I started heavily conservative. So in my journey as a young man questioning life and really diving into Islam, the first thing I did was I cut the strings off my guitar. I had like a whole religious awakening. I was like, this is bad. I'm not doing it. I'm going to live fi sabilillah in the way of Allah and give something up for the Most High. So if you give something up for Allah, Allah will reward you with something better. And in the environment that I was in at that time, the consensus opinion was music was haram. And then the older I got, the more I recognized a few different things and realized you have ikhtilaf in some elements. And ikhtilaf means a difference of opinion. And these are differences of opinions by scholars of belief. Therefore, there's more space and there's more breadth to live within the religious spiritual paradigm than is often presented to us. Just because you are in a certain pool, you may only experience things in one sort of a way. But then you go to another part of the world, and the opinion that you thought was the major consensus is now the minor worldview, and you're on the margin. So it shows you that, or it showed me that there was so much more space and breadth and room to coexist with different ideas. Yeah. So
Mm.
so once I got to that point, like I said, I don't fight over belief. So if somebody's like, brother, what you do is so bad. I'm like, I love you. Cool. Yeah. Hope that makes you smile. Because
Ah,
it's like, also, I'm an adult, you know?
love
You know,
that.
it's like, yeah.
You're like, no
It's
one
like
can stop me now.
we're grown
I
people.
care.
No. No one can if I'm not causing harm to anybody and I have my own understanding, which is grounded in opinions and perspectives that I've researched.
Mm.
All this other person does is to speak to you from their own opinion that is grounded in what they've researched. Cool, cool, bro. It's
Mm.
there's no compulsion. I love the saying in Islam, there's no compulsion in religion. And like, just chill out, dude. You live your life, I live my life, and you have your own issues, you have your own complexities. I have my own issues, I have my own complexities. And I found ways to exist, and you have found ways to exist. Where we coalesce is in kindness and shared humanity, not to combat one another or crush the ideals of another based on what we think is virtuous. No, thank you. No, thank you. Leave it at home.
Ah, wow. Yeah. Uh-huh. Totally, totally hear you on that. Totally hear you on that. You sound like you
Mm.
could preach on end.
Oh, I'm passionate about that one. Oof.
You,
It
you,
took me a long time to form my opinion. Do you know what I mean? And it went through a lot of
mm,
trial and error and self-inquiry, and then needing to fight for my opinion, then getting to a point where there is no enemy, if that makes sense. Like there isn't
mm,
actually somebody out there in that sense. Yeah. So yeah, man, I'm passionate. I'm passionate.
mm. And do you see your evolution in your music coming along, or you just feel like it's just flowing?
The music, the evolution of the music, it, 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 it it's a mixture of floating or flowing, but building the wheel, if that makes sense. Like, you know, like the hamster on the wheel. You know, it's just the more you move, the faster it gets until woof, you're off. And that process is there, but at the same time, in a world that's changing and the value of music is shifting, there's an important step for me as an artist who this is also my work and I provide for my family to understand how to evolve and protect the artistic expression in a safe way, to create systems around it that enable it to really thrive. The example I gave to a friend was before a bird lays an egg, it creates a nest. And as an artist, I really care about the ecosystems around the art so that when it comes, it can be respected and it can be really that energy can flow properly.
Hmm. And the energy that you're directing right now is going where?
Mhm. It's been it's been mostly going into infrastructure, like getting a great team around that understand the idea where the music is coming from, getting working with the right live agents who represent the space of the music properly, working with the right sound engineers to record the music, working with the right distribution partners so they understand where the music goes when it's being shared, and then at the same time creating the space to make more music because for me it's not a short-term thing. Music, it's my life path. I work in yearly cycles of setting things up so I can just be a free creative, a free collaborator with human beings, and it has no external pressures. But in order to do that, sometimes you need to take the time to understand how to cultivate properly, and that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing, my friend. It's been long, but it's been lovely. You know, it's super necessary. Yeah, I would advise any artist or creative to really, who wants to share in a long-term way, really focus on or give some time to the infrastructure around their art.
Mm.
Definitely.
Would you like to share about what's brewing in the background?
Oh. I got so many surprises. I got surprises. I am releasing a project, inshallah, in the summertime called Meditations. Um, and it's a series of almost just gentle soundscapes that I've created in different parts of the world. And one of them is in Bali, Indonesia, and I'm looking to put that out because on top of like really large storytelling music, I have a big passion for helping people on the inside with just music that can help them feel at ease or go on a journey, not necessarily with a lot of words. So that's going to be coming out, which I'm really, really grateful. And it's going to start a wave and a new process of releases in that sense and in that meditative space. And yeah, I'm excited. On top of lots of other songs I've been working on, which I'm going to be forming into an EP project as well. And then from that point on, I think I'm going to do like a year or a year and a half of just making friends with people, collaborating on nice music and just
Mhm.
sharing for a while.
That's so beautiful to hear. What's your, are you touring soon? Are you going performing?
Yeah. So I have a really lovely, calm month of May. Nothing really. And then from the end of May the 28th till around September the 19th, I will be all over the UK and Europe. I've got about 20 dates. So I will be
Mm.
looking forward to sharing that in the next couple of weeks with a lovely picture so everyone knows where I'm going to be. And I'm really, really excited about that. Alhamdulillah.
You would just want to share real quick with the audience where you're like touching base in different places?
Oh, I have something called a master sheet. So let me just do this. Can you still see me?
Yeah, yeah.
Good, good, good. I'm just double checking. So, just very, very loosely, I will be. I will be in the UK, Soul Revolution. Then I'll be at Love Jam. Then I'll be at Mantrafest in Spain. I'll be at United Festival in Germany. I'll be at Well Energy in the UK. I'll be doing a London show in Under the Sun. I'll be doing Calibri Spirit Festival. Whoop, whoop. I'll be doing something called the Cat and Cow Festival in Germany. Whoop, whoop. I'll be doing Rhythm of the Heart in Sweden, Czech Republic, the Healing Festival. I'll be doing Medicine Festival in London, in the UK. I'll be doing New Vision in Germany. I'll be doing conscious community gathering, conscious celebration of one of my favorite peoples in Switzerland. I'll be in Czechia community gathering. I'll be at the Netherlands at Het Grotveen. There's a lot of these, brother. I'll be in the
Yeah,
UK,
man.
in Brighton. I will be in Switzerland, fingers crossed, Music for Life, open air. I'll be in Spain. I will be in the UK in Oxford, and then I'll be back in Spain again. See, I'm doing a lot, man. I'm grateful. I'm busy. I'm a busy
Wow.
bee. I'm a busy bee. Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what? One of the questions I always bring about to artists in these podcasts is
Mm,
if I was to go to a random stranger on the street to invite them into
mm.
your performance, your stage, your music live, how does the invitation sound like?
Uh, so repeat the question one more time, please.
If I was to go to a random stranger on the street to invite them to your
Yeah.
performance, how would the
Yeah.
invitation sound? Like, hey, there is this happening and
Yeah.
line
Yo,
work.
hey, I'm going to yeah, okay. Hey, there is this show by an artist called Facesoul. It is an emotional roller coaster in the best possible way. You will laugh, you will cry, you will celebrate the gift of life. It's something else. It's a real emotional, spiritual experience with so much jokes in between. Come on down. Yeah, I think that's what it'd
Love
roughly
that.
be.
That was direct. I love it. That was amazing. Wow, thank you so much, Face Soul, for coming here and sharing your time, sharing your wisdom and your background and everything
Absolute
in
pleasure.
between. Such a pleasure. And yeah, it sounds like there's so much coming up for you and so much you're going to publish and create and share to
Mm.
the world. Um, is there a message
Inshallah.
you want to share to the people
Um,
listening?
yes, if there's anything good that came from our conversation, I'm truly grateful. If there's anything bad, forgive me for my shortcomings. I am a human being trying the best I can. So sending you love, sending you goodness, and yeah, just wish well for all of y'all. Thank you so much for your time, Ali. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Faisal. Thank you.
Big love.